Fantasy Friends.
All right, welcome everybody to Fantasy Friends Week 14. The playoffs are beginning, and they're actually in full swing as we had a game on Thursday night.
Oh yeah. This season is zooming along. And speaking of Zoom, we are coming at you for the first time virtual. Yeah, that's right. We are in different locations. We are taking this podcast worldwide. And by worldwide, we mean slightly at different locations on the East Coast.
Correct, yes. We've just moved it from the Midwest to the East Coast, trying to triangulate our positioning via Zoom, and we're bringing you our Week 14 episode. We got to get into what everybody's been talking about, the brackets, and also, we can't forget about the DraftKings lines of the week.
All right, and let's get into that playoff bracket. All right. Actually, first let's figure out how to share the screen real quick. There we go. All right, you see it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so
Looking
here
good.
is the bracket spreadsheet. I sent this link in the chat. Any of you guys too lazy to click on it, shame on you, but this is how it looks. All right, these are everyone's picks. We got 10 different people participating in the bracket, 12 people in the playoffs. Well, 12 people playing in these games. And let's start with looking at these consolation bracket picks.
Yep. By the way, $10 prize pool for everybody. Larry and I will each throw in $5. Winner walks away with 10.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it really, I'm gonna be taking $5 from Jake. Is really what's gonna happen.
Very high stakes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. So the first game we're going to look at is the 10 seed versus the 11 seed in the consolation bracket. And the consensus pick is Jake Younger. And Larry and I both picked him as well.
This actually is, I believe, the most consensus out of all consensus picks. 90% of people went with Jake Younger right here, which is everyone but Sam Fontaine.
Yep.
Yeah. This one, I was just looking. I really like Jake's team. I think he is a sleeper in the consolation bracket. DeAndre Swift, I think, will take a big step up now that he's back and healthy. Losing the gas can, that really hurt him.
That hurts.
So we'll see how he can recover, and if he can recover and still win this week with, the guys like Corey Davis stepping up in. I think that he's got some juice when it comes to
So you know how we have how you inserted Jake's team into the bracket because he changes his name so frequently. His new team name is a masterpiece. It's Shrek Harvey, if you haven't seen that one. So shout out Jake. Good team name.
All right. Yeah, I look forward to seeing the next one in a couple days too.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the 9 versus 12. We have Obi-Wan versus Juju Know What's Up.
Okay. And the consensus went with Abby. Jake, I believe, did you go with Abby?
I went with Cassie.
I went with Cassie as well. And this one actually is pretty hotly contested if you look across the bracket. Yep. I now that Cassie actually moved Austin Eckler out of her injured reserve, I think her team has a decent chance to be dangerous with those two at running back.
There's another reason as well.
Mm-hmm.
Abby's David Johnson is now on the COVID reserve list.
Oh, yeah, that's happened. Recent development. That happened post bracket got locked in.
I picked Cassie because of the Austin Eckler, Chris Carson, Stephon Diggs, Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm. Abby's got some weapons. She's also got CeeDee Lamb and Juju, but she's got some weapons, to be sure.
Yeah. That'll be really close. I picked Cassie just based on Eckler being back, but I think that could go either way. And
Abby's got some weapons too, to be sure. Yeah. Two of the best wide receivers in the league.
Is averaging how many points? Let's see. He's averaging over 22 points per game. So
yeah, that's more than 2. So that's pretty good. I really see this as honestly like the battle between wide receivers versus running backs, where Abby's team's all wide receivers, no running backs, and Cassie's team is all running backs and one wide receiver. But we'll see how that one goes, and we'll see who can take that. But it should be a really fun one to watch. All right, and then for the first round of losers bracket, we have well, actually, let's skip this for now because actually, we can go into this. So this would take place.
Do you want to show the bracket so that we can see where on the bracket it is?
I'll try to pull up mine.
So I'll talk about it while you look for it.
Okay, this one's mine, by the way. So do not pay attention.
That's fine.
All right, so we got right here. I have Cassie, but Cassie we're putting Cassie right here, judging by consensus.
Your screen didn't change, by the way.
Oh, I did. I don't know how to change it.
All right, don't worry about it.
Okay, we're just gonna
follow along at home.
Yeah, all right. All right. So we're just going back to this. Yeah, we got Cassie. Basically, she'd be in the bottom left corner of the bracket, that little extra little thingy, and we got her taking that number 11th place right here. As we say, Cassie's team's looking pretty solid. She'd be possibly this could either be any of these really 4 teams, and we got a really wide variety of responses. Cassie, Abby, and Jack are kind of all littered throughout this, and
it looks like the consensus is the people picked who they didn't pick in the previous 9 versus 12 matchup.
9 versus 12. It seems like
except for Michael and Jack, of course.
I think that actually though, it seems like people are thinking the 9 versus 12 group is a bit stronger than the 10 versus 11, but I'm not really sure about that. We'll see how that goes. As I guess the playoffs wage on. And speaking of playoffs waging on, the playoffs will also wage on to the second round, in which case we would have number 7. That would be the 1972 Miami Dolphins, led by Ted, facing off against the winner of 10 versus 11, which Jake or Jack. And the consensus, Ted. Yeah, Ted's been doing pretty good recently, so can't debate that. I do think that Jake has a decent shot of making it. I believe you picked Jake.
I picked Jake. I like DeAndre Swift coming back, and I think that Brandon Cooks is going to step into a huge role. He already has. Corey Davis has been doing really well lately, and Amari Cooper, even though he has Andy Dalton thrown to him, he's always consistent. So that's why I went with him.
I'm just worried that Jake might be running out of gas at this point. Not enough fuel for the fire. And
pun intended there.
Yeah, so I had 10, but I do think this is a close one regardless of who wins 10 and 11. I think that I could really see any of the 3 people on that side of the bracket taking
Ted's Ty Johnson pickup last week was pretty good.
He almost gave you a run for it.
4 points. He ended up scoring over 18, I think. That surprised me a lot. And Ted's team is good. He was without Ronald Jones, Josh Jacobs, Mike Evans last week. I think when all those guys return, that matchup's going to be really close.
Yep. And now going down to number 8, Sam Nathan versus the winner of Cassie and Abby. And the consensus here with Sam Nathan, I believe I went with Sam and Nathan. And who did you go with?
I went with Cassie.
Ooh.
And so I'd like to tell you why.
The championship game.
Yeah, so it was less about Cassie and more about Sam Nathan. His team went off last week. We have to also remember 40 points came from Darren Waller. And
that's because he's good. Okay, do you hate Darren Waller?
Daryl Henderson isn't going to perform that well. Montgomery, he's going to perform decent, but he scored his highest point total last week. He does have some easy matchups, but come week 15, he won't be playing the Lions again. So I think
he's got a pretty good one.
He's got the Vikings, number 16.
Okay, Vikings. Okay, that's actually probably his worst matchup of the season then.
I think that this is a toss-up, and I'm going with the hot hand and Austin Eckler.
I do think that I would favor the winner of 9 versus 12 against Sam, but I don't know who the winner is, so I went with Sam because
I didn't think that way because whenever I make my March Madness brackets, I go game by game rather than who's likely to still be in this game. But you know what? That's why you might win. So
that's why I'm getting your $5, man. Get ready. You know my Venmo.
Yeah, if you win, I'm just handing you $5.
All right. Anyways, all right. So now, the round 2 losers. So this would be the losers of this game, and for this we have a consensus of Abatha taking it. But this one, if you look at it, wow, there are a lot of different responses. That is,
once you get to this point,
it's pretty tough to predict.
Everybody's played everybody and all the different. What I like about this is that whoever is correct is going to get points that not many other people are getting, though. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Not much to say. We already kind of talked about the different teams here. And then for the finals, we have the number 7, the top seed in the consolation bracket, taking it home according to the consensus. Ted getting the chip. But again, a pretty diverse set of possible winners. We have almost I think every single person here in this this finals round. And I actually do think that it should be a pretty close tournament. I can see like every team's got some strengths.
Yeah.
And I think especially the constellation, there are some pretty strong weaknesses on a couple teams in specific spots, especially when it comes to depth. So it could be, one of those wars of attrition where we're just going to see who's kind of able to consistently put up numbers to get out on top.
Yeah, I think the Ted pick is a very good pick, safe pick as well. I picked Jake because I had Jake upsetting Ted earlier, but for me, it was between Ted or Jake the entire way.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I had Jake there for a while too, but I kind of I got a little shaky about his ability to take down Ted, but I think that I honestly think everyone's got a shot, and but apparently the team that people think has the worst shot would be Jack, is the consensus, coming in last place, 12th place pick. I think
this is that,
I think logically, like when you looked at the teams making the bracket, it kind of made sense when you just looked at Jack's running backs. But now that Cam Akers, after that Thursday night performance, filling a huge hole in Jack's lineup, I actually think Jack is a huge threat to make a lot of people's last place predictions wrong right now, because
I didn't even know that he had Cam Akers on his team.
Yeah, the 1 week I drop him. That's all I'm saying. The one freaking week.
You say that with every team.
Being mediocre for 11 weeks on my bench. But whatever. Jack, I'm glad that you got him because it should make the constellation bracket pretty fun. I think Dobbins and Akers could actually be the most dominant set of running backs out of any team in the constellation bracket, which is surprising because Jack has had some struggles at running back.
We're not putting those running backs over Cassie's running backs, but I'll give him second place.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. We'll see how they perform. I mean, I don't think coming in, but I think they got a shot.
I think the Cam Akers pick makes Jack's team a lot more attractive now. So maybe he's going to upset 8 out of 10 of us there, because that is a big point total.
Mm-hmm. And right here we have Cassie, Jake, and Jack are the 3 names picked. So no one's got Abby actually coming in 12th. We'll see if that holds.
What? Can I ask you a question? What does the chalk score mean?
Oh, yeah, chalk score. Just in case. So basically, this compares the frequency of your picks with the the average number of people who picked it, and it basically shows like how much you're going with the consensus on picks.
Okay, so as a higher number, you're more with the consensus?
Yeah, consensus has 53. So basically what it does, it looks at the pick, it looks at like what percent of times, like what percent of picks were that, and then it would weight it by the point value of the pick.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's the chalk score. Actually, let's just look through the chalk scores, take a break after we've kind of covered the losers bracket. And if you look at the chalk scores, everyone seems to be around the 30s. But the team that's kind of actually the most unique, most unique.
Yeah, Sam Fontaine.
Both Sam's and Ted, with some pretty wacky picks going on. We kind of discussed those. But it's kind of interesting. If you guys want to take this bracket a look, you can kind of check out how the individual.
The rest of them are between 45 and yours is 44. Between 44 and 47, 48 actually. Mm-hmm. So,
and we might get to my picks. My weight is 44 in the winners bracket. Start off with we got our very own fantasy friend Jacob Wilder facing off against Sam Fontaine, mixing THC, SEEH, and THC. So we have the consensus. Congrats. You won because the consensus picked you, Jake. So how do you feel about winning in the first round?
I hope so. Robert Woods let me down a little bit, but he's definitely my most difficult matchup this week. He didn't do many favors to Damian Harris on the other side, so.
How about that Rams?
I'm feeling confident. I'm liking all of my matchups this week. I just hope that the questionable tag gets lifted off of Kenyon Drake and Ezekiel Elliott. So.
Who do you have as your second wide receiver, by the way, now that they're all dead?
Antonio Brown gonna have a big game against the Vikings.
We'll see. I think that's definitely has a pretty high potential.
I haven't. That's not my guaranteed play. I also had a big waiver day the other day. Kiki Kuti, T.Y. Hilton, and I also
the only person who did anything on the waivers that week.
Nobody did anything on waivers except for me. So I
picked up Jalen Hurts, but yeah, that was not.
I used 3 waiver picks because if I had used 1, I would have fallen to the ends anyway.
All right. So yeah, that makes sense. And we got actually a lot of people have faith in you. 80% of the picks are Jake Wilder.
Ben hates me. It's cool. Whatever. Just kidding. And I expect Sam Fontaine to pick himself. So.
And now speaking of other strong consensus picks, another one was actually Lindsay going over our number 1 for a very long time, Michael. Actually, it's a little more dicey now that I look at it. The beginning part seems to be strongly Lindsay, but as you go on, it's pretty hotly contested battle. I went with Michael. I see. Who do you go with? Lindsay. I'm not sure.
I went with Lindsay.
Outside factors that influence that pick, but whatever.
Money influenced that pick, Betty.
Recent developments since the picks were the real thing. I think is Julio Jones being ruled out this week, and we'll see what happens with him in the rest of this year too. So that could really hurt Michael's team, and that's the one thing that's kind of getting me worried about my pick. Michael, I guess, decided to go with Lindsay here too. Not feeling too confident, but I do like Michael's matchups this week, and moreover, I think that this is Lindsay's weakest set of matchups of the playoffs, where she has Dalvin Cook going up against a strong Tampa defense. Justin Jefferson's got a decent matchup, but then Tyreek Hill is going.
Tyreek Hill plays the Dolphins.
Tough matchup. Byron Jones and other strong cornerbacks there. So I think that this game could go either way, and it would be really interesting to see. It's a rematch of last week, and either way, I think that whoever's going to win is going to be a tough person to take out.
Yeah, I agree.
And now going to the first losers, we have the consensus loser of 3-6, Michael. This was a bit of a contested one, but it seems like a lot of people actually took Michael. If compared to the probability of the various.
It looks like most of the people picked the 3-6 matchup versus the 4-5 matchup. Except Ben, I hated on you a second ago, but shout out.
I mean, honestly, him saying that you beat Michael or Lindsay, those are like 2 of the toughest teams in the bracket. So that's
He's basically saying that I can beat Michael, and you know what? I would have earlier this year too, but that was when I had Will Fuller, DJ Moore, Dak Prescott.
DJ could be back. Okay, well, unfortunately, when it comes to confidence in you, it does not seem to be as strong when it's number 1 seed versus the winner of 4-5.
Hey, maybe Will Fuller will appeal his PED suspension.
We got I think 2 Jakes, right? All right, we got 1 Jake. I can't see the. No, we got 1 Jake. The rest, going with number 1 seed, can't blame you.
Hey, I went with number 1 seed as well. My matchups after the first week aren't as good, so.
I got some very strong matchups too that week. I think that it should be. I'm really hoping that it should work out pretty well, but anything can happen any week. So.
I also only have 1 wide receiver, so.
It's always also obviously tough to pick because you also have to pick them to really win the first round along with win the second round when you're picking them again. So it makes it a bit tougher.
I didn't consider that idea, but actually I did because I picked you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But so we'll see how that one goes. And then with the second, people again are kind of favoring the person who's got the bye, with Ben being the consensus pick for 2 versus the winner of 3-6. something that's going to come into that is going to be the McCaffrey injury, and if Christian will be ready to play when Ben faces the winner of a very tough matchup.
That played into my decision to pick Lindsey for sure. I think that Ben's team is so good, but also with Gibson being hurt, he has Mostert, but
also with turf toe, it'll be unlikely that Gibson will be back. So
exactly.
Wayne Gallman is going to be a really huge asset for Ben this week, and he's really, I think.
Wayne Gallman hasn't scored under 12.7 points since
he has been
7.
a beast.
Yeah.
I told you guys that one time too. I mean, I was lying about it so you wouldn't pick up the guy I wanted off waivers. But
he does not have a good matchup week 15, however. He plays the Cleveland Browns.
Wayne doesn't have the greatest matchups, but I think that with Gibson going out, that is going to be the guy that Ben really needs to step up if Ben wants to make some waves. And with the round 2 losers, this one we've got a wide variety of responses to. Hey, I made it too. And then this can go a lot of different ways, and I think we can see that here. The one thing, the consensus has Lindsey, and I think that that's a pretty good pick. I picked Michael, obviously, but I think that honestly, if Ben, I think that the team that probably loses this, just because the 2, 3, 6 seeds in this bracket are insane. Like I like my team, but I think that if you look at our power rankings most weeks, these guys are the top 3 teams recently, and they're all playing against each other.
You have to remember that McCaffrey would probably be back by then as well in the second losers week. He could be back next week. Mm-hmm. So,
but so I just see that this side of the bracket though dominating. Well, all the losers after anyone loses in the playoffs.
That's why I picked Ben. I think that Ben has a chance to win it all. I just think the injuries might haunt him, just like they have the entire season, unfortunately. But he's done well even through all those injuries.
The one thing we can see by looking at this bracket is that really it's a real tough contested thing. There's a lot of different picks for every single thing, except for me winning the 2, 4, 5, which I guess is a lock. Maybe I'm just that talented, I guess you could say. But everything is contested. Look at the championship.
It's interesting. It's interesting how Ben is the consensus to win both the second losers. Hold on, wait, go back a second. Oh, never mind. I was looking at the wrong row.
The second losers was actually split between Lindsey and Michael. If you look at the responses, okay. But because they had Michael losing here, I put Lindsey as the consensus winner because Michael wouldn't be able to make it there.
I respect that.
But Ben is the consensus finals. But if you look, actually, there are 4 different responses. There's Ben, Lindsey, Larry, and Jake Wilder. Yep, that's right. Both of us fantasy friends being picked as potential champions. And I really think Michael and Sam Fontaine, they both have strong teams that have a shot at making it too. But it should be an interesting one to watch. But I think that you can't really hate on any pick you do here. Obviously, Larry is the correct pick here. As I have done it, and it is me.
You have to remember that any of our players, any person in the NFL could get hurt tomorrow, and then
it won't matter because I'm still going to win it all. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. It's just between me and Sam Nathan. You guys, nice. Your brackets are real cute and all, but we all know who's going to win this chip. And so I'll be looking forward to taking those $5 from you.
We'll see how it turns out. Thank you, everybody, for playing along, by the way.
Yep. All right. And that is it for our brackets. And now let us get into the DraftKings winning lines of the week.
Winning lines of the week.
Nice one. All right. I was afraid you're going to forget that.
Jinx.
Right. And now, all right, for our picks, we got me, you, and our underdogs. I'll start it off with Pittsburgh, who is an underdog, maybe apart from actually their Baltimore game for the first time of the year. These guys are 11-1 right now or something like that. Lost one game to Washington, and I guess now they're trash. Now they're just not going to win another game. They've been, I mean, I don't think the Pittsburgh maybe is as good as their record says, but I think that they're good enough where if you see that they're not favored in most games, you take Pittsburgh. That's I think a solid bet, especially coming off a loss. I think they can rally behind that. I think that they're a strong enough team where even up against a pretty good Bills team, I think that there's a better squad. And when you're given those points, I'm gonna take that.
Yeah, I like that. I think you're right on that pick. I think the reason that line is shifted that way is because the Bills have been impressive lately, but it's 11-1 Pittsburgh. They've beat a lot of good teams. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'm going to go with my underdog, the Cleveland Browns, +3 against the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens have not looked great. They've had COVID problems. I get it, but they're not even in the playoffs right now, right?
They're like Browns. No, I think they're in. They're in, but it's barely. They're
outside looking into the Colts, Dolphins, and Browns in the wild card, I believe.
Oh, I thought they were in front of the Dolphins, but doesn't. Yeah, they're but they're fighting for it. They're definitely not locked.
Yeah, they're fighting for it, but the Browns right now, this would be a huge statement win. They're the underdogs after having a very good offensive game. We'll see how the Ravens fare coming back to normalcy after the COVID problems. But I think that the Browns being given points here, I have to take the Browns against a team that's been shaky off and on throughout the season. You never know, Lamar Jackson could have a Lamar Jackson game, but I think that Baker Mayfield is starting to look good. It's crazy.
Oh, no, we'll see.
Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb looking.
They are good. Those two are good.
Always playing well. I have to pick the Browns.
Right, I mean, I would if I'm going in blind, just hearing the different players and how they do, I'd definitely go with the Browns. But the one variable I think we got to consider is that they are the Cleveland Browns, and in a big game. And even with that record, that is the one thing I'm a bit nervous about. At the same time, I would probably just go in blind anyways and say, fuck it. I think the Browns are the better pick right there. So I will agree with you there. Right. When it comes to overdogs, I have the Houston Texans -2 against the Chicago Bears. Now, I was a decent fan of the Chicago Bears at the beginning of the season when they were 5-1 or 5-0 or whatever. But they haven't won a game since then, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm going to think that they're going to probably lose this one too against the Houston team that's kind of done the reverse, where they started off really bad and have kind of been turning around, being competitive against a very good team.
Houston
beating the
played
Patriots.
A really good game against the Colts last week as well. They blew it at the end, but I agree with you. That's a really good pick.
I just think Houston's better.
Yeah.
All right. And speaking of teams that are just better than their opponent, what team you got?
I have the Atlanta Falcons -1 to the Chargers. The Chargers lost 48-0 last week to the Patriots. They let up 48 points to the Patriots. That's saying something. Also, the Atlanta Falcons, since they fired their head coach, their defense has been actually pretty decent, and they've lost Julio, but I would have to -1. I'll give them -7, honestly, in this game.
I mean, I wouldn't go as far as -7, but I do think the Chargers have not been playing very well, and Atlanta has been turning around just like Houston has. And I think that this is another case where it's just you take the team that's done better.
I wish I had the stat on this, but the Chargers love losing close games. They've lost a ton of close games in the past 2 seasons under Coach Lynn.
Yeah, Anthony Lynn. Even before that, they've had an issue with that. But, it's definitely been a big situational football. It's not been very strong. We'll see. I don't know I don't think they're going to turn it around. And because of that, I love Atlanta -1. When it comes to my lock, I am taking the Minnesota Vikings +7 against the Tampa Bay Bucks. And I just think that +7 is a lot for 2 teams that are relatively, I'd say,
mediocre,
same in skill level. I would say that they're both pretty good. I would say, honestly, I think that Minnesota recently has been playing like the better team, but the Bucks have a strong roster and are coming off a bye, which is the only reason I wouldn't even just go money line straight up on this. And because of that, I think Minnesota might lose, but I think it'd be by definitely less than 7 if you're really trying to play the odds right there. Minnesota's been very strong recently. Dalvin Cook's been a beast. Jefferson, Thielen. I don't need to talk about that. And their defense has been playing well enough to keep them in the game. And because of that, when they're given a whole touchdown difference against a team that has one more win and has been struggling, you take the +7 with Minnesota right there, and that is a lock.
Yeah, I have to hope that Tampa Bay does well and Antonio Brown catches 10 balls and gets me some good fantasy points. But I think that your pick +7 is looking pretty good. My lock, just going to preface this by saying if I could pick the Falcons as my lock, I would pick the Falcons as my lock. But for all intents and purposes of having a scoring system involved, I'm going with the Denver Broncos. They're playing the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers have had their facility shut down this week for COVID reasons. They're without DJ Moore, and Curtis Samuel just got activated. Christian McCaffrey is likely out. I think that the Broncos have been playing decent football. They pushed the Chiefs to a good game, and I think that they have a good chance of winning this game, not just covering +3.5.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to put my betting luck in the hands of irresponsible quarterback Drew Lock. You know, that guy now wearing a mask, forcing the football, getting them turnovers.
At the same time, the Panthers are fining some of their players for their COVID mishandling.
Listen, but we're not talking about that, okay? That's not.
So it goes both ways. I understand that one is the quarterback, but DJ Moore was the quarterback of my fantasy team. No,
if he was the. Fair enough.
He was not even close. That was Will Fuller, and he made his own mistakes.
Yeah, you know. Also, yeah, I would like to contest. I lost to Jake week 1 on behalf of some illegal points, some fraudulent points. I would like a recount.
All right, we'll take that to the
system is rigged.
Court.
I believe that you had 50 illegal points, which would make me win by around like a margin of 2 points if we really take those off the board. 60 to 65 or something like that. It would have been a very close match, but
I'm pretty sure I beat you by 60 points or something.
Okay, then 60 illegal points. You know what? Fucking 100 illegal points. Yeah.
Fuck it. All right.
All right. So that is our podcast for the week. We look forward to seeing you guys next round. And goodbye.
See you, everybody.